What's going on, everybody? This is Drew here. I want to welcome you all to a brand new episode of Phoenix Down. This is Phoenix Down episode number 96.1, and we are continuing our playthrough of God of War. Today I have with me Matt.
Hello.
And if you can hear some trepidation in my voice, that is because I thought I put a good amount of time into this, but apparently I made no progress whatsoever.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of the game. I mean, I had exactly the same sentiment. I feel like I put a lot of time into it. I had a good time. And the game is really, like, settled into its groove, right? You know, we're still learning new things, but, you know, I've got a good handle on the combat, you know, and it's settled into this rhythm of traversal and boss fights and, you know, all the things we discussed last week about, you know, the various chests and, you know, doing a lot of searching off the beaten path and trying to find all the little secrets, which, you know, we can get into, you know, in more depth later. But, you know, all of these things together mean maybe a lot of my time wasn't necessarily forward progress.
Yeah.
And also, knowing that this game is quite lengthy for this type of game, I expect to be in the thick of it for a good couple of weeks. Right? This isn't a 12-hour game like a lot of these, you know, story action games tend to be.
Yeah, I think you could easily sink in about 20 hours into this. One of the things that I do find endearing about it is how everything loops around. So, the last we left off, we had just entered Alfheim, which is the elf world, or the elf realm. And
or the Alf realm?
The Alf realm, the aliens, and their love of cats. But essentially what we did was a dungeon here. So I keep referencing The Legend of Zelda because I feel like this is the best way to describe this. It feels like when you go into this realm, you are in a large open space solving puzzles and figuring out how to make it to the end of this area. And by doing... Which
I still find fascinating because I have not really played and loved a Zelda, like, ever.
Have you played many Zeldas?
I have started a few Zeldas.
Which ones have you started?
The Super Nintendo one. Link to the Past.
Yep, that's a good one.
Breath of the Wild.
Okay, yes. That I have never really done much there either.
Yep, didn't really like it, to be honest with you.
I enjoyed what I played of it. I could have done without the whole breaking of weapons thing, but I can look past that. So...
Link's Awakening I started.
Okay, yeah. The Switch version?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how far did you make it in those games?
Not very far.
Have you made it to... Did you ever make it to a dungeon in those games?
I don't think so.
Okay. Have you ever played Darksiders?
No.
Okay. Well...
I have all of them. I have the War Mastered editions and whatever they are. I really want to play them.
Okay. So the very first Darksiders felt like a mature version of a Zelda game. The reason why is because Zelda has this pretty much a tried and true formula where you go to a dungeon and you solve puzzles in this dungeon to eventually get an item. This item helps you solve some of the puzzles in this dungeon, but you can also reach other parts of other dungeons by using this item. So it's one of those things of you go into an area, you get an item to help you solve the area, and now you're going to use that item throughout the rest of the game. God of War feels a lot like that because it feels like you're in this large open area, but you know where to go, but you can't get there yet. You have to solve puzzles or go through these areas to fight these enemies and unlock paths.
Yeah, it is very much gated by these items.
Yes. a lot of Zelda, when you finish the dungeon, you kind of warp back to the beginning. God of War doesn't do that, and this is what I find endearing about it, because it makes you, at least with this first realm, it makes you go back through what you just did. Sure, there's a few shortcuts here and there that you've unlocked, but you're going back through this area, so it's not like you start it and then, oh, well, we beat the boss of this area, so we can just go back to the beginning of the area.
Yeah, warp out.
Yeah, you can't just warp out. You have to walk back, and it feels like you referenced last week, a little bit like a Souls game in that sense, because you're unlocking new ways to traverse the same area.
Yeah, and I found a couple of good examples of that later in this play session as well. That, you know, I do kind of like that, because it means that the world fits together more, and, you know, it may have some gameplay benefit, but to me, it's that part of it means, in my mind, is them really having designed these levels well, and coupled with still what I remember from the first PAX East, really, and sitting down and listening to Naughty Dog talk about level design. You know, and when they really spend a lot of time talking about the idea that you should be able to see your destination, and you may weave into the mountain, but then you're going to come back and you're going to see your destination again, to continually kind of reinforce what you're trying to do, so you're not just kind of lost in the dungeon. Yeah. Right? There's this constant reminder of the goal, and they do that really well in this game too. And that's something I think I just have a short attention span, but I really like when a game makes the long-term goal very clear, and then like the chapter-sized goal very clear, and then like the minute-to-minute goal very clear. It's a lot easier. I don't know. I get a little bit. I don't want to get, and that was one of my biggest problems with Zelda. Is I found that I was like lost out in the wilderness. If I put the game down for a week and I'm just like, I pick it back up and I'm just in the wilderness hacking at bushes, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, and, you know, I just kind of got bored because it wasn't clear enough to me what I needed to do. I think this game does a good job of kind of reinforcing that.
I completely agree, because they constantly remind you of what you need to do. Even if it's, I'm looking around the room, eventually Atreus will be like, hey, what's that?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, thanks. Maybe it's because I'm an old man now. I don't have time for your crap. But it shows good game design is what it is, and that's exactly what this game has. And to have a dungeon in Legend of Zelda, usually, it's, in the grand scheme of things, a dungeon in Zelda is not that big. Typically, maybe 3 floors with 5 to 6 rooms per floor kind of thing. In God of War, just this first realm felt like you were in a whole other world. Like, it was just as big as the Lake of Nine. You know?
Yeah.
And that, to me, is very impressive. How they sculpted an entire realm that you're not going to be in this entire time, but you know, it stands out. It feels like it was part of the whole game, kind of thing.
And the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, these realms all fit together, so it feels integral. It doesn't feel like, oh, you've stumbled on this random new place and you do it. And, you know, one of my problems with Dead Space was that the levels felt a bit random to me.
Right.
And like, I enjoyed them, but it just felt like, how big a game do you want to make? You can just keep slotting in these random levels, and you keep ending up back at the same place anyway. And it lacked sort of a drive and a continuity of storyline. Here, like, you know the setting, you know the context, you know this is one of the realms, it's one of the key realms, and so, you know, it can't really go on forever. It can't go beyond 9, really. You know, and for whatever that's worth, you know, it grounds it a bit more for me, and I like that.
Absolutely. So, I haven't yet got to what I wanted to say was I didn't make it very far. I felt like I had, but there was a few reasons why my job has become insane again. So there was like 2 days where I couldn't play anything because I had to work 12 hours and wake up at 2 a.m. And when I got home, I passed out. So it was kind of a rough time. Unfortunately, it's going to be a rough time for the next couple of weeks because I'm working 68 hours next week. So
yeah, that's pretty wild. Even when I'm like working 60 hours a week, it's Monday through Friday, so I can wake up Saturday morning and usually just patter around, drink a whole pot of coffee, and slay some demons.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do not have that luxury right now. I'll be working every single day. But as much as I did play, we can talk about. So I did finish Alfheim, and I went back to the Lake of Nine. So we can talk about what happens there. So we just entered Alfheim where we left off. The witch got pulled back into the World Tree warp zone. And we have to go on. So the first thing was she noticed that there was something wrong with the light. The light, you should be able to see it pretty much anywhere in this world, but it is being darkened by something. So the first thing we notice is that this world is covered with this like corruptive sinew.
Yeah, sinew or sludge. There's a lot of sludge too.
Yeah. And it seems to be coming due to this certain type of elf that is waging war against the light elves. So there are dark elves and light elves in this realm. And apparently they have been waging a war. And it seems like the dark elves have won.
They certainly seem more aggressive.
Well, the light elves, you see a few light elves like getting murdered by the dark elves. And of course they see us and are instantly like, oh, outsiders, let's kill them. And the first thing that strikes me is this looks nothing like any type of elf I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, my first thought was actually like the aliens in Avatar.
A little bit.
Because they're kind of blue and floating around. Yeah, they are different looking.
So these are basically like insects. They're humanoid insects that can fly. And the first thing, they can use like weird like explosive magic that can set you on fire. They can also blind you.
Also jam you with a spear.
Yeah, they all use spears.
Tridents, right?
Yeah, tridents looking. But there's constantly one throughout this entire level. He looks kind of like a chieftain or something who pops up and yells something at you, but then flies away.
And no doubt that's going to be your end boss
Yes.
from the moment you see him, right?
Yeah, because Kratos is constantly like, he'll be back. That won't be the last time we see him. But yeah, going through this area, Atreus gets captured or cornered a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to help him out. You start to see a little bit more of the bond between Kratos and Atreus here.
Yeah, and all sides of it, like Kratos trying to teach him, but also Kratos not interested in any of his sass. Yeah. Or any of his words even.
Yeah, definitely. And so there's oh man, how do I even start with this? Because That's what's so good about this game is that they give you a problem, and they say you need to solve this problem. And then they stack problems on top of each other, but they never overwhelm you with them. So the first thing, you got to figure out how to make this bridge appear. Well, the bridge won't appear unless you get the symbols correct. So we can do the sand thing with Atreus. We do that, but then there's something blocking the light crystal to bring the light bridge up. So we then have to travel down to where that light crystal is and defeat the corruption there. After that, we then have to make it back up to the bridge, and then we got to go inside the temple-looking area. Well, the door doesn't work, so we have to find a way around. It's like this happened because of this, and then this happened because of this, and it never feels like you're having to go out of your way for something. It's okay. I made progress. Now you have to progress from here.
Yep. Yeah, the detours aren't very long, so you don't end up, again, just keeping you on your main mission. There are a lot of little detours, but they're not so long that they become the goals rather than the detours from the goals.
Exactly. You're never completely distracted from something. You're doing this to get to there. You know exactly why you're doing this kind of thing. Man, I'm trying to think, like, besides just saying we made it to the center, it's because there's so much intricate details in here.
Yeah, I mean, they also start giving you the puzzles. One of the things I like is that not every new area gives you a new mechanic that you need to use. I like that they just are putting some spins on mechanics. Like there's one part as we're traversing towards the center here where, well, I mean, there's the main thing about to open doors you need to like line up the glowing bits and throw your axe through multiple.
Yeah, to defeat the corruption that's holding everything.
Yep, and that's not necessarily new or complicated, but because of that like way of setting up the door opening mechanisms, they can play around with, you need to maneuver yourself until you're in a certain place to get everything lined up. And so there's a lot of simple things that they do, and they're like, all right, let's just add a little puzzle here and a little puzzle here, and they're not real complicated, but they provide a little bit of texture for each area.
Yeah. So
and the one other one I really liked that was just a little bit different is when you can see the vine that you need to like cut, but it's on the other side of a door, and so you can't actually throw your axe through the door. So you need to go around the side, throw your axe like into the wall, then come back to the front and summon it back to you.
Yeah.
So it hits, on the other side. I think that's the first time in the game you really have to do that, where you have to place your axe somewhere, then move, and then call it to you, and it's the path back to you, not the path away from you, that triggers what needs to be triggered. I thought that was simple but effective.
Yeah, and they did that with the lowering of the platforms. There was that one chess puzzle that you had to hit the runes, and they had a rune that was actually you had to keep going down in order to find it, kind of thing. They do a really good job with that stuff. And it makes you want to get all of them. Because you're like, oh, yep. It's somewhere around here. I know it, kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not spread out too far, and they're not so terribly hard that I'll just give up on them.
Yeah.
Although I have missed one or two now.
There was the one with the door. Like, I couldn't figure it out. Like, after you finish this area and you're walking back out.
Where you're in the outside bit?
No, it was like you were going back through and it's completely dark. There's a door to the right that you had to hit these symbols, and I couldn't figure out why it was shifting again. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know. But So one of my favorite parts was me physically trying to figure out one of these puzzles. It was to get into the hive, the main area. And there's tons of these like sinew grasps. I don't know what to call them. And like probably 6 or 7. And you had to hit them in different orders in order to get inside. And the whole time, Atreus is like, it's not going to work. Like, we can't figure it out. And Kratos is ever so slightly getting more annoyed each time. And finally, he's like, I require silence. And finally got it. I didn't actually have to look that up, but it was just funny having to, like, figure this stuff out. And the game knows you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But eventually we do make it into the hive. And this is when I was like, this is cool. Because when you go into the hive that is covering up this light, you can see these like columns of like the sinew stuff. And you can see them like the elves are like flying to the columns and like resting there like you would see a wasp do.
Yeah,
I was like, that's really cool because they're like so insect like. And then
this is their hive, yeah.
Yeah, and it was great because you go into like this crazy mode of just killing random guys.
Yeah, right there at the end before you get to the column, or when you're at the column of light.
Yeah,
yeah. You really cut through them, like one hit kill all of them, and you must kill what 40 or 50 of them maybe.
I kill a ton.
Yeah,
just barreling through them. But when we make it to the column of light, Atreus can still hear these voices talking to him.
Yeah, and he keeps asking Kratos, like, did you hear that?
Yeah. But in this column, he's definitely hearing them. And Atreus touches the column, and it burns him. And so I'm assuming Kratos realizes that since he is a god, it won't hurt him. So he decides...
He's also got the Bifrost. I don't know if that helps him at all, since he needs to absorb it.
True. So he decides to go into the light. He gives Atreus his axe and says, use it as a last resort. And Atreus is like, you're giving me your axe? He says, no, I'm letting you hold it.
Yeah.
It is not a gift.
I was just reminded of the comment that Atreus made, like, when Kratos picks up one of the crystals to move it. I think it might have been before this area, but and he's like, what, he's just going to carry that around all the time? And he's like, yes.
I think that was actually afterwards, I believe. Because after you come back from the light, that's when he has the ability to shoot light arrows.
Yeah.
But, he gives Atreus his axe and traverses into the light. And we're playing as Kratos here, walking around this light world.
Looks like a dream almost.
Yeah. And it's all part of Midgar, not Midgar. Is it Midgar?
Midgard?
Midgard. Midgar is Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Midgard. And you eventually run back into the home of Kratos. And the entire time he's hearing Faye's voice.
Which he hasn't believed, Atreus, that he has heard her voice or that she has any possibility of still being alive.
Yeah. And he's constantly following the voice. He also hears Atreus talking about how, you leave me and you leave me with him. And
yeah, that's a pretty intense part.
Yeah, he's always gone. He never stays. Why are you leaving me with him? And he makes it to the top of this hill, and he's almost to the part where he can reach Faye, or at least he thinks he can. And he gets pulled out of the light. Atreus pulls him out, and he's like, I was almost there. Why did you do that? And he's like, you've been gone for a real long time. And Kratos looks around, and there's dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah, dozens of them. Atreus was like fighting for his life for ages, it looks like.
Yeah. And what he felt was only mere moments was, I don't know how long. They never actually allude to how long he was in there. I would assume probably a few hours.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple hours, yeah.
Yeah. But we have the light, and we can now we basically give Atreus' bow the ability to shoot light arrows, which is now a new way to solve puzzles. This is the item we got in this dungeon that now helps us get out of this dungeon. So now we can shoot these light crystals that then form bridges. And there's puzzles in puzzles there, because you can also pick up some of these light crystals and put them in different places. So after coming back out of the light, we have basically restored this world. The light is now all over this world again, and we can now pretty much leave. So one of the endearing things I love is that they make you go back through this area, and it's not as long or difficult this time. And it's definitely different because there's some areas of this where it's completely dark and you have to use the light to light your way.
Yeah.
And there's tons of chests that you could originally see but couldn't get to, but now you can. So, of course, I'm having to make a couple of detours along the way.
You also, on the bridge back, you get the one chest where there's the two halves of the platform that you have to raise and lower. And basically it was a little bit awkward because two of the runes that you have to get only show up for a split second when the platform is just about to raise, when it switches direction.
Right.
I almost gave up on that one. But I got it in the end.
Yeah. But going, I hate to skip it, but we have to. We traverse this area again.
Yeah.
But at the end of this, we run back into the big elf chieftain guy and have a boss fight with him. This guy was a joke.
Yep.
I had no issues out of this guy. And we can probably bring it up here because I know, Matt, you wanted to talk about it, but I have been outfitting both Kratos and Atreus. I have pretty much upgraded Atreus exclusively because the faster his arrows recharge, the faster I can stun a guy and do an instant kill. And some of Atreus' stuff is fantastic.
I'm using the wolves. I know that as one of his one of his other abilities.
That is the ability we get after we kill this guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Atreus, man, he'll jump on top of a guy and start stabbing him in the back. I have it up
and then leap off and shoot.
Yeah,
I like how you can influence. He does that on his own when he leaps on somebody's back.
Yeah.
But I like how at any point in that process you can take control of him, have him leap off, and then still stun him.
Exactly. And you can basically stun lock a guy, especially once you get his arrows to recharge
fast enough.
Yeah. So I have definitely been upgrading him. And I haven't upgraded my ranged attack at all, really. I have upgraded a lot of his Kratos' one of the big ones. God, what's it called? Permafrost. Permafrost is nice because as long as you keep dodging and keep attacking, you automatically just freeze dudes.
Yeah, I like how Kratos himself gets covered in the frost.
Yeah. And you can combo that with the not runes, what's it called? The runic attacks, I think is what it's called.
Yep.
And I've got one runic attack. It's a light runic attack where he does basically like a whirlwind spin.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. I haven't used it though.
That is fantastic because if you got like 2 or 3 guys around you, you like go in and start attacking one guy and then activate that. That one guy you've been hitting is pretty much dead, and the other 2 guys get knocked way back. So you get guys off of you really easily that way.
Yeah, that's good because for both of my main runic attacks, I'm using AoE effects just for that same reason. I feel like there's a lot of fights here where there's multiple people around you, and I just want, I need some breathing room.
Right. So I've been doing that. And to be honest with you, as far as equipment goes, I haven't changed much. I finally, in this playthrough, purchased, had some crafted, and then upgraded them. But I have focused almost primarily on strength. I am all about just hacking and slashing. So gear level, so it's weird because every time you bring your stats up, your gear level will go up after you get a certain threshold. I'm still at level 2 as far as my gear goes, but...
Okay.
What?
No, I'm trying to think of where I am. I really want to take a picture so I could get in, pour over the details. I think I'm midway through level 3.
Okay. I'm close to level 3, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But I'm wearing... Right now, when I stopped playing, I was wearing all blue armor. So blue chest, wrist, and legs. But I've primarily focused on strength, the entire time.
Yeah, me too. I also have a ton, between all the enchantments and all the different pieces of armor. I might be using 6 or 7, but I've got 70, I feel like. And I keep picking them up. I've even got purple and yellow level weapons that I can't buy. But they're there every time I visit Sidri. Now I can see all these things that I could purchase if I had the ability to.
Right.
So, there's a lot out there, which is another nice incentive. But, yeah, right now I'm picking up, loads of blue level items. And to be honest, I can't necessarily tell if they're any better or worse than the ones I've got. Because they all tend to shift some stats up and some stats down. It's not as clear that any one is an upgrade over any other one.
Yeah. I guess it's really on how you want to spec your character.
Yeah, which is, kind of cool in its own way. You've got a lot of options here.
Yeah, there's tons of options. So the runic stuff, if you upgrade your character based on runic, then other things can proc extra abilities, with certain equipment or certain types of runic attacks and stuff like that.
Is that just upgrades tied to your runic level? Or is that beyond that?
That is up. So if you have to have your runic to 100 to make this special ability proc when you use this runic attack kind of thing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So there's stipulations on this. It goes really deep considering I'm the bad thing is I'm not paying attention to a lot of it. Because I feel like I'm just going with strength, which probably is a bad idea for me. But, coming from a hardcore Diablo player, I probably should be looking at this stuff to see what synergizes the most.
Yeah.
But I just haven't. So, but, yeah, because I feel like this game so far, I mean, maybe on the harder difficulties, but so far this game, you can pretty much brute force your way through it. Yeah, you can brute force your way through this game if you want to, at least on the normal difficulty.
Yep.
But so after killing the chieftain guy, before he dies, he says something, And it seems like Atreus understood what he said, and he said that we have made a grave mistake. Which I get the feeling is probably going to come and bite us in the ass.
Yep. We meddled where we probably shouldn't have meddled.
Yeah. But I guess we'll find out. So after beating the chieftain, we then travel back to Midgard. Along the way, I picked up 2 side quests, one from Brock, one from Sindri. I decided to go after the one from Sindri, which was basically just like a gauntlet. Did you do this one?
I know I did one for Sindri, at least.
Is it the one looking for the whetstone?
Oh, in Fafnir's Horde?
Yes.
No, I haven't done that one yet, actually.
Okay, yeah. I did that one. I did not do Brock's yet. So, but I decided, I got a little more time. Let me progress this story a little bit, because I feel like I can always just come back and do these side quests if I want to.
Yeah.
So I decided to go back to the mountain, because the whole point of going to this other light realm was to get this light that we could then dispel the black
breath.
Black breath. I was going to say black smoke, but this black breath. So we make it back up to the mountain, and I should say before that, there's a pretty good little moment there with Kratos and Atreus as they're making their way back to the gate that allows them to go back to Midgar. Atreus kind of snaps off to Kratos a little bit when they talk about his mother, and says that he didn't really care if she was dead. And he stopped him real quick and said, "Whoa,
yeah,
you grieve how you want to. I grieve how I want to." And said, and he also, I like how he's like, one of us has to be focused during this time, and it's obviously not you. But yeah, making it back to the Midgard. That's when I decided to do that side quest. But yeah, going up to the mountain, we're able to dispel the black breath with the light, and we go now into the mouth of the mountain. This is I think Atreus recognizes that the door is used by giants, the Jotun. And he says he feels like this may lead to like a giant territory. I do like the little anecdote as we're traversing this area. Yeah. It's like these hallways look a little bit too small for giants, and Atreus laughs at him and says they're not actually giants. That's just what they call the race of people.
Yeah, some are big, some are small.
Yeah.
Don't you know anything, Dad?
Don't you know anything? You never paid attention to your history lessons, did you? Which I do see a dead body of one. They are relatively big, but they're not a giant, like as big as a house kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I travel through this area. I would say I'm close to the end of it, but I stopped here.
Yeah,
I was legit on this Skype call with Matt when I stopped.
Yeah, there's just a lot of, it's not boring, but it's just, it's just progression. Right? There's not necessarily a lot of story that happens in here. There's puzzles, there's fights, I think the end part, did you get to the part where you start, I think it's probably the end of this section. where you need to start riding up to the top?
No. The last thing I did was I crawled through an area. There was a bunch of dead bodies because traps had been set. And when I came out of it, Atreus was like, yeah, all those people who died before us set off all the traps, so we're good. And that was it. Which I feel like I probably put 4 hours into this game, if not more. But I've only did two.
Yeah.
According to our fact that we're going by, I've did 2 chapters. I'm not even halfway through this game. I know Chad gave us a good stopping point, which, let me see what he said here.
He gave us like an easy one, and then if you want to push yourself, here's the halfway point.
Okay, so he said, good stopping point would be right before you head towards Helheim. That's about 38% through the story. If you want to push to the midway point, there will be an obvious emergency that only the witch can help with. And that's it. I asked him,
So
I was like,
I don't think I've hit either of those points.
so you haven't went to Helheim?
No.
Okay. But you say you're probably about 3 hours ahead of me?
Yeah.
Are you time traveling, Chad? Is this what is happening here? Because I feel like this game is only 20 hours, right?
I think the way we're playing it, I think I read more like 25. But,
Okay.
Because at least I'm doing I'm trying every little path. Like every time I'm in an area, when I see the exit, I immediately turn around. I guess I do that in most games. Immediately turn around and look for some crevices.
Maybe I did what I did the second episode of what was it called? Robot dinosaur game.
Horizon?
Horizon. You remember the second episode of Horizon? Apparently I'd only I felt like I put 5 hours into the game, but I did nothing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I did here. But I swear I put at least 4 hours into this game. And
I guess the one thing that this doesn't have as a time sink is crafting.
Yeah.
Because the menus are actually pretty complex in this game.
Holy crap. Can we talk about that for a second? Because the equipment, the enchantments, the runic abilities on top of your skills that you can do, it's overly complicated to me.
It also gives me a lot of anxiety every time I open that menu and I see all these bright yellow exclamation marks. So in my mind, I open that menu. I'm like, here's all the things you've missed, idiot.
Yeah.
And then, and then I go in there and I'm like, oh, this is something that's not relevant to me because it's worse than what I've got.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is should I upgrade this? Am I wasting my money upgrading this? Because I'm upgrading this, but I mean, am I going to get something better in 2 hours?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's got the quest tab. Does it have a lore tab?
Yeah, there's a lore tab. There's the world map, which is huge. I feel like it's just a little overwhelming to me. Which, I mean, it's great to have that stuff because, the people who really want to dig into this game can. And I really want to dig into this game, but every time I look at those menus, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm still using the first heavy runic attack I got, I'm still using it.
Yeah, me too.
And I feel like, should I? And that's the thing, you can upgrade those. You can spend hack silver or whatever it's called to upgrade those. No, you can use experience points to upgrade those. And I'm like, well, am I wasting my experience points here? Should I be getting skills or should I be upgrading these abilities?
So do you think it's a lack of clarity as to what's a benefit, or do you think it's a lack of like walking you like a bit of a tutorial to walk you through all the menus, or
I don't think it's a lack of tutorial by any means. I just feel like there's such a giant smorgasbord of options here.
yeah,
And I'm just like, here's the reason why. Because in Diablo, that game revolves around you synergizing with your abilities and your equipment. In God of War, you don't need to do any of that. In God of War, you need to press the R1 button a bunch of times. And there is no... I feel like I'm, wasting my time by worrying about this stuff because I can still progress through this game without having to worry about it. Colored loot is really only good for a game like that. I don't know. I don't know how to even say this because I like this game a lot, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm just like, I don't know if I need this. I don't need this.
yeah, it does. It does have some layers that you can overlook. Certainly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that good because it's there for those who want it, or is it maybe a not great design choice because they haven't tailored the game to make you need it?
I mean, you could take it either way, I guess. Because, I mean, it's great because I don't have to worry about it, I just, I pause the game to maybe look at the map occasionally and pause the game to save it.
And do you think if the game gets harder, that will be better because it'll force you to think about this stuff more?
I feel like yes, on harder difficulties, yeah.
Because I haven't really found this game to be very hard at all. I mean, I've died a few times, but
sure,
nothing, nothing aggravating, I would say.
Yeah.
And nothing where I've died and then I haven't been able to come back and just beat it easily the next, 10 seconds later.
Right. So I have found multiple items in the Elf Realm, Alfheim, that the ability is you take like 15% less damage from Dark Elf attacks. And I'm like, this is absolutely useless to me. Why even have this in the game? When I'm going to leave this realm. Will the Dark Elves show back up? Maybe. I don't know. But A, I don't think I'm going to fight these guys again. B, even if I do fight these guys again, I don't need this.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that kind of like your easy button? Because you get the same thing right after this where, it's block 15% of all ice attacks or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have, sure, but it's completely unnecessary. I feel like that's what that is my description of the equipment and skills in this game.
But what if you just weren't very good at this game and you needed something like that?
I mean, that's the thing is I don't feel like I'm very good at this game. Like I don't know.
I feel like I've gotten better. Right when we got to Elfheim, I had a little bit of trouble because some of the first fights with the Dark Elves when they're like swarming around you, I was just like, "Whoa, where are they coming from? They're everywhere." But I kind of felt like I adapted to that pretty quickly.
That's the thing is that you learn enemy patterns.
Yeah,
that is your upgrade. You don't need a item to help you take less damage from them. You learn their patterns. You learn how to fight them. That's you level up.
Yeah.
I mean
level
that's
up your skills.
Exactly. That's the best way to describe it. Because in essence, this game is still a action game. It's still a hack and slash game. The more you play them, the more you're going to learn how to fight it. So I just don't feel like. I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff is unnecessary. I mean, it's there for a reason. I mean, it's there because, for the people who want to, like, synergize and like, I don't think I'll ever get my runic up enough to actually proc any of these abilities. And you know what? I don't need them. I don't need the abilities. Then again, we may hit a brick wall 50% of the way through this game and say, oh, you really do need to look at your skills and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll find out. Apparently, I have just scratched the surface of this game.
Just getting started.
And have put probably 10 hours into it, I feel like. So, whatever. But yeah, that's all I can talk about, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's some...
How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of big things that happen in the next 3 hours, I would say. Story-wise and fight-wise and traversal-wise. So the game is certainly moving along fast enough, given the fact that I don't feel like we've made as much progress as we thought we would have. So I don't feel like it's stagnating, which would be my concern if we were playing for 5-6 hours and doesn't feel like you've actually accomplished all that much, is that it would get boring. I don't feel bored at all.
No, not at all. It has that sense of progression that just feels good. If it was any shorter, it would feel like it was being rushed, but if it was any longer, it would get boring or monotonous.
Yep. And the levels are certainly a bit longer. Like, if you look back at Call of Cthulhu, those levels were so fast.
A lot of them were, yeah.
I mean, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and, you're popping along. Part of that was just the pacing. Part of that was there was nothing else to do other than continue the story. This has a lot of other bits and pieces to it. So, I still feel like I'm learning new parts. There's definitely areas that I wasn't able to access before that I am now, and I'm looking forward to being able to progress as well as backtrack. I don't know. So far, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So I am too. I think it's still great. Like the puzzles, discovery, and exploration in this game is well done.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm in this open area, I'm like, oh, what's over here? And what's over here? I know where that leads. That leads to the next story beat. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about everything else around here, And it does a great job with that. Like, it really does. I guess I just need to play more of
it. Did you do that one rune chest where it was sitting on like a little circular platform and there was just like 8 different gongs around it?
Yes.
And you couldn't see the runes, you just had to figure out which ones they were?
Yeah, because one of them, some of them would make the gong sound and other ones wouldn't.
Yeah. And if you hit them in the wrong order, it would like reset, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few of them I'm just like, I don't know how I figured this out. or I never figured this out. It just worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've already upgraded my health twice. I'm one more blood mead away from upgrading my rage twice. And you only upgrade them 3 times, right? Because I remember getting the first apple and it said there's 9 in here.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm just like, okay, so I can only upgrade one more time and I'm not halfway through this game? So, I don't know. I don't know. I'm feeling good though. It's definitely a fun game. And like I said, before we started recording, I love the fact that I can totally like spam the axe throw and kill a guy and not worry about him. Because I have cheesed a couple of higher level enemies by doing just that.
Yep, and I like how you can take out different people almost like with one set of actions. So it reminds me like in Killzone, I really like playing as the class where you can set up a turret, and so you can be shooting a guy down one alley, and your turret's shooting a guy down another alley. I like that, being able to like branch out a little bit. So I really like in this game that like I can throw my axe at someone, freeze that person, and then completely ignore them for a minute, and then have Atreus stun lock another person with his arrows, and then I can go beat on a third person, all like without having to break the flow, right? It's all one motion, and I can just all of a sudden I've got three enemies incapacitated.
Yeah,
and it feels kind of powerful, and not just Kratos being powerful, because you could always have bigger spells and bigger attacks, but the fact that I can coordinate, freeze one guy, stun one guy, and hit one guy, like that's my doing that, and that you do get a bit of a sense of empowerment here. It's not just the brutality that the early games were kind of impressive, like the way you rip people in half. You still definitely do that in this game, but I like it's not really tactical, but it's a bit more. You can handle multiple threats at the same time. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So far, not much God action.
Yeah, not other than just being really strong.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
for Kratos, enemy gods.
I'm talking about enemy gods. So far, we've ran into one.
Yeah,
and that's disappointing to me. But still a lot of game left.
Yep. I'll say your next 3 hours, like the last 3 hours, were very much like combat and traversal. The next 3 hours, there's a lot of story beats, a lot of boss fights.
Okay.
I think we stopped just before you get another round of big events happening.
Right. I saw that one of the realms you can go to is Asgard. I want to go to Asgard. I want to fight. I want to fight Thor. I want to fight Odin. And there better be a freaking story beat or a boss fight with Loki, or I'm going to be very upset. I mean, you have one of the best. You have the trickster. You have the ultimate deceiver in this world. Use him, please.
Yeah.
Why do I get the feeling he's not in this game?
Maybe he's awaiting he's in the sequel, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the sequel, but we'll find out. I'm sorry, Chad.
Apparently don't even know what's going to happen in this game.
Yeah, I don't.
With ridiculous theories.
I do want to apologize to Chad. Unfortunately, I looked at your email briefly, and you mentioned things that I have never heard of before, so I'm not going to read it because I don't want any type of spoilers or anything like that. And that's my fault because I didn't make it far enough. But we will definitely read that off on the next episode. I'm going to try my best to play as much as I can. My work schedule is insane, but we're going to make it through it. But if you would like to send us an email, it is drew@ztgd.com. You can also tweet to us. I am at DML Fury. No, I am not. I am at Drew Leachman. Matt is at REMGS, and the podcast itself is at ZTGD Phoenix Down. But yeah, I know it's a little short show. But that's okay. I do apologize once again that I didn't make it as far as I should have. And I will try to make it up for the next episode.
It's a journey.
Yes, it is.
Two of us and Kratos and Atreus, we're both on journeys.
Yep. We're gonna get on our boat. We're gonna go upriver, and we're gonna kick that son of a bitch bison's ass so hard that the next bison wannabe is gonna feel it. I have that movie memorized, so sorry. Anyway, that's going to be it for us. Until next time, I am Drew.
And I'm Matt.
And we are out of here. You guys have a great week, and we'll be back next week with the continuation of God of War.